Hello and welcome. This is rooflemonger, and my friends, it is that time again because it's tier list time. So as always with all my tier lists, I'll be just going through the entire roster, talking about them and just discussing, why I'm putting them whatever tier I'm going to put them in. It's just some general discussion of where they are in the game right now. If you just want to see the completed and final tier list, please skip ahead to wherever this timestamp is right here. It'll bring you to the end and you'll see the completed tier list and my final thoughts. And for certain characters, some will get more discussions than others. I'm sure my tier placement of collector is going to be controversial compared to most people, right? But, I'll talk through it and all that kind of fun stuff. So the tier list I'm using here is S rank through C rank. So each character is stronger than the ones in the tier above it or below it, rather. So, an S rank character is stronger than an A+ rank character, but not like wildly stronger, right? An S rank character would be like wildly stronger than a B rank character, but as far as the tiers themselves, they're better than the ones below them, but not like crazy so, right? And also, just as a quick note, the tiers themselves will just be the tiers themselves. So I'm not going to order people within the tiers themselves, as that's just a lot of extra busy work, and that is even more subject to personal opinion than the actual tier list itself, right? So without any further ado, let's get started. All right, let's just start with some of the easy stuff here. So we're just going right to C rank. And what does C rank mean? C rank means Kotal and Kano, because these poor two unfortunate souls definitely have it worse than just about anyone else. Kotal, I almost feel like I'll be stealing your time if I go into it any more than I already have, because on this channel, oh god, we've talked about how bad Kotal Khan is many times. Suffice to say, he's not a good character. And the patch didn't do right by him. Kano, the patch did better by him and making the one competitive variation a little bit better, but still does not address many of his core issues. And I don't want to make this a 40-minute talk on just these characters, because I'm the kind of guy who does that kind of stuff. So suffice to say, Kotal and Kano, they're really bad. If you don't think they're really bad, hey, post in the comments below. Educate me on what makes them good, right? Because I would love to know if I'm missing something here. But yeah, Kotal and Kano are just easily the two worst characters in Mortal Kombat 11. Now, let's take someone going from the bottom tier and going a little bit higher up here. Someone who's fallen from grace just a little bit. And I'm going to say Aaron Black is not S tier anymore. I said before, if he got his Scud Shot nerfed, it would drop him a tier, and I stand by it. The Scud Shot nerf certainly hurt. So now he can't just be brainlessly belligerent, back 222, Scud Shot cancel, be completely safe on everything, right? You have to use it smarter. It's still a good move, but it can't let you get away with brain dead pressure anymore. Now, even though that is a very, very large nerf, he did also get a pretty big buff, right? A lot of characters who had really bad, D3s and all that kind of stuff, they got theirs buff, and he's no exception. So his D3 now jails into his 2-1-2-1-2, I can't remember the string. You know the one, the punch string, right? And that's a really big deal. So he got one really big nerf, but he got a pretty big buff. But in the end, would he rather have the jail, or would he rather have the brain dead, BT2 into Scud Shot? He'd still rather have the Scud Shot stuff, right? So it's a give and take, and in the end, he gave a little bit more than he took back, but still, he's a completely fantastic character. Hey, the boot's still the boot, and yeah, the boot got nerfed a little bit, but it's still not that big of a deal. He's still absolutely one of the better characters in the game, but I think the changes he got are very fair. He lost a very stupid thing that a lot of people complained about, and no one had a lot of fun with interacting with it, and in return, he got a very strong jail that really helps up his up-close game. Now, let's move on to a couple characters I think bear little discussion, honestly. I don't think I have to go over this a bit too much, do I? So I'm talking Garrus. I'm talking Cassie. I'm talking Sonya, if I can find her on this list. Where in the world is Sonya? There she is. And I am talking Jackie. All these characters are still crazy strong. Did Garrus and Sonya get nerfs? Sorta. Sonya's nerf might as well not even really matter. She still gets 37% mid-screen and 40 plus in the corner. Garrus, his nerf not that big of a deal. Like, yeah, it hurts to lose the crushing blow mid-screen. Sure, it does. It does. Don't get me wrong, right? It hurts, but he still has all the tools he had, right? He just loses that one bit of burst damage, and now he can apply it in other stuff. Also, he got a buff, too. 4-2-1, the punch combo, now works in the time stop on everybody. But before, it was hyper character specific, right? Now it works on everybody, which is a massive buff to the new era variation, as it has now way more reliable combos, right? And with that, I was a big fan of new era variation. I thought it was critically underused, and that makes it a lot more viable pick versus the other variation. So we might see more new era Garruses running around, because once again, I think it's very good. But yeah, Garrus, total package, unarguable. Cassie, her stagger game with 4-4 and the rest of the string's not as good. But other than that, Cassie's still Cassie. She's still amazing. Sonya, once again, Nerfs miles will not even matter. Jackie's still a blender. These characters are still basically among the best characters in the game. They might have suffered a bit of a perception nerf in like the public's eye, but don't get me wrong, man. These guys are still some of the best characters in Mortal Kombat 11, full stop. Now, speaking of some characters that got some buffs, but I think those buffs, while are a good starting point, they could definitely use a little bit more. Those characters are Frost and Shao Kahn. So both these characters got some buffs, and I still think they have some issues, but now they work. Basically, they work. Shao Kahn can now, for the most part, reliably get Priest after a spear, the Dark Priest buff, which is fine. Uphammer's still basically a dead move, and let's not even talk about the other variation, right? But a lot of the basic stuff now works as intended. Spear is no longer a waste of a move in and of itself, because when it helps set up the Dark Priest buff, and now they buff the damage, all that kind of fun stuff. He now has access to plus frames besides the boot, which is cool. He still has issues, like 4-3 single hit confirming in a real match in a realistic situation is still incredibly difficult. Some people write off like it's the easiest thing in the world, and all I gotta say is Yoon didn't put time in the character, right? It's the easiest thing in the world in training mode when there's no stressor, sure, but in real match, I don't know about that. But other than that, you know, hey, he's good. Like, should 4-3-4 be special cancelable still? Yeah, probably. Or for at the very least, if it couldn't be, you know, take out the gap and then let me choose which side I dump you out on, right? For the string. But other than that, he's getting better. He's getting better, although he can still use more stuff. And Frost, same deal here. Now that her mids work, her mids actually work, she's actually decent up close, you know. She has, you know, a lot of fun stuff, like she can threaten plus frames in the corner, and this is stuff she could always do from day one, right? But she could threaten plus frames in the corner and still get a full combo if it actually hits. That's kind of hard for some characters. But yeah, she can still use a bit more. But yeah, these two characters are definitely climbing on up here. They're getting better, and hopefully in the future with more patches coming, they'll get all the better yet. Okay, let's get the controversial pick out of the way here, right? So Collector, is he over here? A lot of people say he's over here. No, he's a little better than that. Oh, right up here? No? Here? No? No, he's here. Collector is a good character. End of story. Don't let anybody tell you different, because they're wrong, or they just don't know what the character can do. If you want more info on the Collector, hey, check the big hour-long guide I made on the character on the channel. That'd probably help you out a bit. But yeah, a character with 10 frame safe mids that also creates enough space on the block that characters with less range can actually get shimmied afterwards. Tons of restands, some good stagger pressure, not as good as the greats, but you know, better than most. The fact that he can start his offense at a range that most characters cannot compete in any way, shape, or form, and the few characters that can keep with the range, all their stuff is way slower than Collectors, and I'm talking about stand 4-4. Gets in the full combo, 30 plus damage. Depending on your variation, you also get a bunch of restands, and restands into 50-50s, like hit, throw, that kind of stuff, you know, the kind of stuff that makes Cassie pretty good in the Digital Soldier variation, right? Yeah, he can do that, and he gets more damage than Cassie does now, too, right? Some of the best anti-airs in the game, some of the best damage off anti-airs in the game. I could just go on forever, right? If you don't believe Collector is a good character at this point, all I can say is you're just not aware of what he can do. And I highly suggest hop in the training mode, test it out for yourself, right? Character with good mids, good pressure, good I'm getting a little flustered just talking about it here, because it's mind-boggling me so many people say he's a bad character, right? Okay, let's just cut her short here. Collector, a good character. Moving on to another good character that doesn't have a very strong public perception is Scarlet. And I'm moving Scarlet all the way up to A+ tier here. So Scarlet is one of the better zoner games. Not that zoning's that big of a deal in Mortal Kombat 11. Not to say it doesn't exist, right? Because, you know, we got Cetrion here, and we're just going to put Cetrion up here too, just so you know. We'll talk about her in a second, but she's always been a little underrated in what she can do, because besides the zoning stuff, hey, her normals are amazing. She has a lot of range and outranges a lot of the characters in the game. She deals respectable damage, gets restands off a lot of stuff too. Her jail game got so much better after the patch, because now down 3 actually works, because it used to be like plus or whatever, I can't even remember. It was like +2 on hit or something like that, right? Something ridiculous. It was a waste of time, right? Now it jails into stand 2-1. That's really good. She's just a nice all-around package. Like, a lot of people think just, oh, fireball's done, that's it, right? But her pressure's good, her normals are good, her neutral is good. You know, up close she's not bad. Like, you know, she has plus frames as well, right? Stand 4-4, that's +6 on block, and that jails from down 1, right? Like, that's not nothing. That's pretty dang good, right? So off every down 1 poke, she can make it herself +X afterwards, or, you know, she actually connects, and it's all the better because she needs to go into Cell Siphon or Blood Tongue or whatever she wants to do, right? I think Scarlet is a critically underrated character. Like, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, she's all right, but then that's it. You know, they don't really talk about it too much more. But yeah, Scarlet, I think, is really decent. And of course, you know, I don't think Cetrion needs too much introduction here. She is a high skill cap character. You can't just plop into the character and do good like, say, certain characters, but as long as you have the, you know, the skill cap to work with, she can do her stuff. She's unsafe on a lot of stuff. Like, you know, you have to really plan your offense ahead. You can't just smash buttons and hope it all works, right? And your spacing has to be really good to make her go. If you have bad spacing, please pick another character, right? Because she's not going to make it go for you. But Cetrion has proven time again in tournaments here and just general play, she has what it takes. You have to work harder to make her go versus, you know, other characters, right? You have to work harder to make her go versus other characters, but she can still do it once you get to that high level, and that's why she's in the A+ tier. And while we're here in the A+ tier, let's just fill it out here. So I'm going to fill out the A+ tier with Jax, Lord Jaximus, and Cabal. So Cabal, just to talk on him really quickly here, I always point at Cabal as like the best character nobody talks about. Like he's invisible or something, right? Like, Cabal can do everything the game wants from you. You know, fast mids, good neutral, good fireballs, air fireball in the one variation, high damage with crushing blows, a lot of viable crushing blows. Like, there's nothing he doesn't do other than his base mid-screen damage is maybe a little bit lower than average, right? But other than that, Cabal is near exceptional of every aspect in the game, and no one talks about him. No one gives him the time of day. He's just like, woo, whatever. Like, I call this Necalli syndrome, because in Street Fighter V, Necalli is another character that's amazing and always has been amazing. Everyone's just like, they don't talk about him, like, whatever. Necalli's whatever, right? When Necalli's never not been a good character. And I think Cabal is very much the same thing. Cabal is a fantastic character all around, and nobody talks about it, but hey, here I am talking about it, and yo, A+ tier. Now Jax has been getting a lot more popular lately as well. A lot of people complain about that fatal blow. Oh my lord, a lot of people complain about that fatal blow, to be sure. So Jax is a great bulldog character, great pressure, great bulldogging. I still think he struggles a bit in neutral, and obviously he struggles a bit from full screen, so that's what kind of holds him back from, you know, him being up here, right? But Jax is amazing at what he wants to do, but what he wants to do is fairly single-minded, yes. And characters that are, you know, a little more nuanced, you know, characters that don't have to worry, you know, about just playing one aspect of the game. If one thing's not working, then I can do another thing, right? Whereas Jax pretty much has to do the one thing to win. And that's the only handicap he really has, even though he's exceptionally good at what he wants to do, right? So that is why he's in the A+ tier. Now, let's move back down since we're kind of high up on the tier list a bit, and let's talk about some other unfortunate souls here. First up here, Raiden. Oh man, Raiden, eh? Raiden, flagship character, Mortal Kombat. Yo, this sucks. Like, he has to expend so much more effort, energy, and everything just to do baseline stuff. Like, hey, you want to do a basic hit confirm? You know, like back one, two, cool. You have to dual layer hit confirm it, because it's not safe on block, unlike, you know, everyone else in the game, right? And then you got to like teleport and burn a defensive bar just to stay safe. Like, that's a basic thing. And even if you're in Raijin, you still got a 2-layer hit confirmant, right? It's just, you got to expend so much more energy than anyone else does. Like, stuff like his forward 1 poke, right? Like, yo, you can literally have a guy stand still and it whiffs randomly. Like, I've showed this off in many videos in the past, right? Like, here's a character standing perfectly still. They're not doing anything. They're not blocking, not crouching, not nothing, right? And I'll reset. Okay, it hit this time. Reset. Oh, whiff this time. Hit, reset. Oh, it hit this time. Reset. Oh, whiff this time. Like, broken hitboxes. Like, this is a character, I know he was like one of the most hated characters in MKX back in the day, right? Especially near launch, right? But that era of 50-50 into 50% is definitely gone. But dude just struggles. Like, I don't know, Raiden just has such a rough hand dealt to him compared to like the rest of the cast, really. And it just stinks. Like, there's not much else I can really say. Just Raiden, he struggles versus everyone else. You have to work so much harder with Raiden for less, basically. Like, you know, a character we just talked about earlier, like Cetrion, she has to work a lot harder than the average character too, but she has the tools that, you know, reward you for working a lot harder than everybody else. Raiden, this sucks. And speaking of just sucks, and I know there's gonna be a couple people who are like, yeah, rooflemonger, you got it, dead on, man, you know what's up. And a couple people are like, oh, you're so stupid, blah, 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 blah. But I'm gonna put Katana over here too. So I already know there's a couple like Katana highborn players screaming at the monitor right now, and I'm sorry, but Katana just also another case of just like, I know a couple of highborn players right now, they're screaming, well, you know, oh, razors are plus and block. I know. What else you got? What else you got besides that? Because to me, that's not enough. Highborn, I think, is the better of the two variations right now. Yes, absolutely, but it's still just whatevs. Like, it's a neat counter zoning variation, but like, if I'm gonna counter zone, there's a lot of people that do it more fun and more interesting, like, you know, hey, like, you know, collector, right? And just the damage isn't there mid screen, you know, in the corner you get damage, sure, but it's hard for her to get people to the corner in highborn, period, right? Yeah, just, man, if you know some secret tech about highborn, if you're a highborn player, and because I know people play the other variation, like, you definitely, there's nothing to talk about here. The other variation, crap, right? But for the highborn players, hey, let me know in the comments if you know some secret tech besides just razors or plus every now and then. That's not enough to move the needle for me. But if you know it's secret tech, hey, post in the comments below. But yeah, to me, Katana, sadly. Now let's talk Shang Tsung. I actually am going to put him in A. I had him a tier higher last time around. And while a lot of his core stuff is still good, that damage nerf, it does hurt. I still think he's a good character, because that's why he's in the A tier rank, right? He's not below A tier, but the damage nerf hurts. Like, when you used to go from, like, you know, 30 something every time to 25, and then your straight hits confirmed to a lot less than before, it stinks, right? But in the end, yeah, that stinks. The damage nerf hurts, but he still has all the tools. Corpse drop is one of the best moves in the game still. He still has good normals. He's got good pressure. His down 3 is really ridiculous. It's one of the better down 3s in the game, because it's like 7 frames, only -2. That's something. Yeah, he's still a good all-rounder, but now that his damage is fairly significantly lower, I am going to put him in A tier now. Now, let's get this one out of the way, because it's sticking out like a sore thumb. I'm talking about him. Let's talk Liu Kang. Yeah, he's the worst. Liu Kang's not the worst. I am going to be putting Liu Kang in S tier, mostly because even though the characters that, you know, top tiers here, they ate some nerfs here, and they're not significant nerfs, they're just a little bit. And Liu Kang is being more explored as a character now. Like, I'm seeing people starting to use stuff like, you know, his down 4 as an anti-air into full combo conversion. Like, that's the kind of stuff that's really good, right? Obviously, yeah, F4, 3, F4 up 3, you know, 3 up 3 plus frames, plus stand 1 2s plus as well. Like, all that usual Liu Kang stuff we all know about. I don't think I need to belabor it anyway. I don't need to belabor it. So Liu Kang, very strong character, to say the least. Villain number 1, to be sure. Of everyone who's on this board, if you're going to say who's going to get nerfed next, probably him, just because people are crying for his blood, right? So for now, hey, he's S tier. Now let's get to some solid heroes here. So when I'm talking solid heroes, who am I talking about? I'm talking Sub-Zero, I'm talking Noob Saibot, and I'm talking Johnny Cage. And no, Johnny Cage players, shut up. Shut up. Don't even start with me. Johnny's good. Don't even pretend otherwise. All right. So first up here, Sub-Zero. Yo, I don't know. What's even there to say at this point? Like, he's effective. Like, he is unchanged basically since day one, right? He works. He's strong. You know, he got the 50-50. That's cool. You know, despite what some people say, just react. Yo, just reacting ain't enough sometimes. He's just all right, solid, downright good. Pressure, 50-50s, all that. I don't know. I really am struggling to think of anything to discuss that we don't all know together as a community, right? Sub-Zero, good. Noob Saibot. Noob Saibot got a lot more jail pressure stuff, which is good because he needs it. I know he does have a 9-frame mid technically, but his 9-frame mid setup is punishable by, say, about a good half the cast into something really big. And that's... If that his 9-frame back 1+3 was not punishable at all, I would legit put him a full tier higher. But with it being the way it is and so many people can punish it, that's why he is where he is. But yeah, just once again, another great all-rounder, man. 9% damage projectile. The other variation, the one with the slide, is now a lot more viable. I still like the base variation one with Spirit Ball more than that one, but it works now. That's cool. Obviously, the range on a lot of his stuff is really good. 4-2 is so good. Oh, my lord. His down 3's probably the best pound for pound down 3 in the game, which helps because he definitely needs it. Because in matches where he's not really allowed to hit back 1, he's going to be using that button a lot. But yeah, just really good all-rounder, man. Damage, obviously one of the highest in the game. You know what? Here, speaking of damage being high, let's get Brock up here too. Damage is very high, just can do basically everything. Good anti-airs, good air-to-airs. Not much he can't do at any point of the screen. Just really good. Like, the only thing, once again, not great. And with one small change, making back 1+3 safe, yo, immediately put him up another tier. But yeah, really good. Johnny has good damage. Johnny has some of the best normals in the game. Johnny has almost like among the best neutral in the game, potentially like top 5 neutral in the game. His shimmy game super strong. Restands, you know, especially in the corner, more pressure. Yeah, force ball whiffs on a couple characters, I know. So what? You don't need it. He already has a lot of his jailing issues fixed on female hitboxes, which is good. Johnny is good. That's all there is to say. Johnny players, I love you guys, but you're some of the worst down players out there. And as someone who's been called a down player in the past myself for Dragon Ball FighterZ, you know, I know my own kind, I guess. So shut up. Johnny Cage is a solid character. Yeah, he ain't up here. Sure, whatever, right? But he's a solid character. And speaking of solid, yo, for just being Baraka, man, come on. Baraka is solid with a capital S, right? Not much else to say. Like, his damage is insane. There's nothing scarier. No character's as scary in this game. If you get hit and you don't have a defensive bar to break, Baraka is the absolute scariest character in the game to get hit by, because nobody can put out a hit like Baraka for just 1 bar, right? You'll take like 50% and plus, especially if you're in the corner. It could be like closer to 60, right? So yeah, Baraka, you know, one of the better jump kicks, you know, good command of the screen because he has one of the better firewalls in the game. His mid-range neutrals maybe not as good as some of the other characters, but you know, he's really good far up, he's really good up close, so he doesn't need to be great at everything. Plus his sweep is not bad actually, and that covers a lot of his weakness in that kind of mid-range neutral situation. Yo, Baraka, pretty dang good. All right, so we're starting to wind our way down just a little bit here, and we're starting to get a little more, you know, focused. And let's just get some people on the list here. So first up here, Jade, we're going to put her in B+. Once again, I've already said this before in previous videos. Jade, she's a good counter pick character. She's mildly annoying when she does what she wants to do, sure. But there's nothing that really she does better than anyone else. Like, if you're in that counter pick match, sure, Jade feels great, right? But other than that, when you just measure up against the majority of the cast and, like, you know, just kind of a big average out kind of situation, just kind of You know, she has all right footsies, obviously, right? A lot of her stuff's way unsafe on block. A lot of stuff's very gimmicky. I've seen people get away with more gimmicks with Jade than like almost any other character, right? She's a character that just needs a little more identity other than like, I picked Jade because I want to fight the guy who throws a lot of fireballs. Because that, to me, is what she is right now. If they made the pole vault variation better than it currently is, because they buffed it, sure, but like, it's still not a big deal. Maybe a third variation can help her in the future, I don't know, but yeah, she lacks any identity other than I'm the anti-fireball character, and that's kind of it. Low damage, bad frames, just kind of fails to impress otherwise. Now, speaking of that, now let's talk about a character that's kind of fallen from grace a bit here. Let's talk about Scorpion. So Scorpion's still a good character? Absolutely he is. Is he as good as these characters? Nah, he ain't. But Scorpion's still good. The nerf he got on the teleport doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter as far as I'm concerned. Scorpion, that nerf was basically to punish people who are like the random Wi-Fi, random teleport Scorpions, right? And you're just rolling the dice, hopefully you get a hit, right? If the person did something, you know, that you could whip punish with the teleport, hey, it still works just fine, right? Now you have an option against, like, you know, your laggy Wi-Fi Scorpions that you can at least like walk forward, duck, walk forward, duck, walk forward, duck, and get a little space on them until you get to neutral anyways, right? And speaking of neutral, yo, he's really good. You know, back one's really good. Forward four is really good. He's got stuff to work with. His 4-3 poke string, oh my lord, that's some of the best dagger pressure in the game still, right? And it's a nice meaty crushing blow if you screw it up. He's still got a lot of really good stuff, and the only crime he has is not being as good as the people directly above him. That's really just about it. Still an eminently solid character in my opinion. I guess that's kind of the theme here of the A tier, is just solid characters, just not amazing characters. All right, so since Nightwolf is the newest character, we're going to save him for last, but let's just go here. So Kung Lao, I'm going to put him here in B+. He still struggles a bit. Yes, we've learned a lot about the character. I know back, you want to move back a couple months here, he'd be like down here, right? So we've learned a lot about the character, and he's getting better, but he still has a lot of critical flaws. He's very limited in a lot of moves he wants to use, because a lot of his strings are still pretty bad. But you know, 4-4 is really good. He does have safe hit confirms as well, and 4-4 obviously being one of them. His damage is pretty good too, right? But in the end, he plays a very confined game. There's like, he wants to bulldog in on like the one stuff he wants to do. Obviously, Z-Hat's pretty much the way to go. Orbital to Hat, man, I've seen some people talk it up. I just don't believe in it at all, personally. I think he's on the cusp. He's like more than a lot of characters. I think he's a recipient of like a small buff that's like a real buff, could skyrocket him up more than a lot of characters, right? He is in the position where small buffs could mean the world to him, right? But for now, it being what it is, I still think he's a decent character, right? He's not down in the doldrums. We know some of the actual rotten characters. He's been proven to work, but I feel the people who play him, that use him and do good stuff, they would do so much better picking someone else, honestly. Like, that's just the long and short of it. Kung Lao, also another character where, like, you do what you do, sure, but you'd probably be better served picking someone else. Now, moving on to a good celebration story. D'Vorah became a very real character after the big patch. So much to talk about. Suffice to say, her everything is better. Oh man, it's just too much stuff to even go over, really. She's just so much more of a complete character, almost solid, just like a lot of other people here, right? Her jailing options are better, her frames are better, just basically everything's better. Like the Widow's Kiss variation, Arachnophobia, I believe, is now a real variation, and honestly, it's the one I prefer more. I know Sonic Fox, because, you know, if you watch the video, you probably know who Sonic Fox is, right? He's a big fan of the one with, you know, the trap setups. But for me, Arachnophobia is just like kind of the good all-rounder now. And you get damage. Her normals are obviously, you know, better than most, right? Our neutral control is better than most. She's one of the best anti-air characters of the game. Stop jumping. She has some of the best jumping in the game. Her jump one is very stupid and has a crazy hitbox. Yeah. So D'Vorah got a lot of big buffs and is now, hey, a real character. And And moving on to Nightwolf, and I know he's right here. I accidentally clicked the thing in between the video takes, so he's over here now. We're going to move him up. So Nightwolf, I think, is another eminently solid character, but there's nothing he's great at. You know, the reflex stuff's cool, you know, but counter zoning in and of itself isn't, you know, a big, you know, character defining deal, right? Otherwise Jade would be a lot higher than she is. But yeah, in long sword here, I'm just going to put him in the A tier. So it's a little bit lower than some people are putting, to be sure. I've seen some people say he's top 3. I don't agree with that. He's solid, yes, but you know, his neutral is good. It's not great. You know, his combos are cool, but they're not the best. His full screen presence is all right, not amazing, you know, and so on and so forth. He is certainly serviceable to good in many categories in this game, but there's nothing he stands out in. People talk about a lot of his stagger pressure, but a lot of his stagger stuff is fake, like, you know, like back one, right, and back one to the rest of the string. That has a massive hole in it you can easily attack through. That's not real pressure, you know. That doesn't work. He does have some real stagger stuff, yes, right, but when I think of people have like easy brain dead stagger stuff, like, you know, this guy, right? Nightwolf has to work a lot harder than like a Liu Kang does for stagger stuff, for stagger pressure, right? I just think he's good at a lot of things, but he's in particular great at nothing. Like having a shadow charge is cool, but you know what? Shao Kahn has a shadow charge. That doesn't move the needle that much, right? To be able to close the gap real quick. So he can punish certain things a lot of characters can't, sure, but you know, hey, so can Shao Kahn, and Shao Kahn's where Shao Kahn is, right? I don't know. Like, this is gonna be one that's divisive because a lot of people talk up Nightwolf. I just don't think he's that amazing. I certainly don't think he's bad. Otherwise, I'd put him lower. But I think he's just pretty good, and nothing really much more than that. So that is my completed and finished up tier list for Mortal Kombat 11 at the moment. So if you use a timestamp, skip ahead. Hi, hello friend. Thank you for watching the video. I appreciate it. If you're mad about something that's placed here, hey, you got to skip back and find out where I talked about it and see if you agree or disagree. But as always, tier lists are personal things or opinion-based things, right? So you are more than free to agree or disagree with anything I have here. I do want to say just one thing too. Obviously, tier list being a personal opinion-based thing, you know, just take all the factors in mind. Like say recently Celtic Throwdown, we had Shao Kahn top 8, right? I do believe the name of the gentleman was Video Games Yo. Hopefully I have that correct. And because he did well in the tournament, does that mean Shao Kahn should be up here? Well, he got top 8, so he should be like top 8 up here, right? Well, in my opinion, no, not really. Obviously, he's an exceptional player, and congratulations, absolutely. But that doesn't mean he was carried by Shao Kahn or something. More to the point, I think it was he was carrying Shao Kahn himself to the tournament, right? And if we go by like tournament results are the only thing that matters, then we have to put Devora top tier because Sonic Fox, right? And obviously, we're not going to do that, right? So tournament results obviously matter a bit, but whatever. But yeah, so that's where it stands right now. So agree or disagree, please comment below, you know. If you think Kano is the best character in the game and I'm crazy, please let me at it. If you're going to argue with me, Collector, hey, whatever. I've been doing it for months now at this point anyways. It's not going to be anything new or anything different. Let's get at it, right? But yeah, so that's the tier list, and I guess that's it for me for now. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this video has found you well. Go and play some Mortal Kombat.